People of Reddit, what is your weirdest paranormal experience? Serious. **** tag notice **** jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted in **any * comment. Parent or child. **parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. **report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the tag will be removed. Consider doing an ARMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. **I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please, if you have any questions or concern, the night that a friend of mine committed suicide, someone slapped my window leaving a muddy handprint. Going by the time it happened, it was real close. I have a similar experience. I was sitting in the middle of the woods angry and just thinking by myself when I felt a creeping sensation on my neck and all of the noise in the forest around me stopped. I got back home pretty quick after that, and later on that night found out that my dad had killed himself at roughly the time I'd felt so weird in the woods. My brother had tried to call me collect one night. I figured he was drunk again and I didn't bother to answer the phone. I was sick of his drama. The machine picked it up. That night, just as I was falling asleep, there was a loud bang, a snap, inside my head. It was shockingly loud. The next morning I woke up to my mom and stepdad at my door. My brother had killed himself the night before. I've heard of exploding head syndrome, but that was the one and only time that has ever happened to me in my life, and it happened on the same night that my brother shot himself in the head. Timeline works out to, I don't think it was a coincidence. In 1998 I was walking home from a late-night library study session and there were 4 very large, shiny, deep gold things in the sky. They were twirling downward like those seed pod things on trees that sort of helicopter themselves. Except these were bigger than cars and were doing it very slowly. I had stopped and was staring up at them before I even realized it. Then I noticed that about 20 people were standing on the other side of the road. They had come out of a bar. There was only the bar, several houses, and a bridge, but that was basically it. These days I would never let my daughter walk home like that, but whatever. I thought it was safe. I hollered something along the lines of, "What is that?" and one of the people said she thought it was spaceships, but I knew that wasn't right. And I went home and told people who thought I was probably crazy. A few years later, when I was older and understood the internet more, I looked for any kind of news, or anything, and nothing was available. I wish for the life of me I had talked more to the people watching the same thing outside the bar. But I was more afraid of them than whatever was in the sky. It was bizarre. In the intervening 20-plus years I haven't gone crazy or ever seen anything like it again. Lol. Were they high up in the air or rather low? I used to work events at a historic home. It was well known that the place was thought to be haunted and everyone had their own stories. I never believed any of it until one night I was the last one in the house because I was locking up after a particularly late wedding. I went up to the top floor and the second I crossed the threshold I felt the air change. It got almost dense, and knocked the breath out of me. I booked it out as fast as I possibly could. Another co-worker said one night when she went up to do the same thing around the same time she clearly heard footsteps and assumed it was another co-worker coming up to join her. But when she turned around no one was there and the other co-worker had actually been far across the property at the time. Another person said they were walking down the corridor when the door they were about to go through slammed shut in front of them and locked. The facilities guy was absolutely positive the original owners of the home were doing the haunting. So he started playing classical music at night if he had to be there late to appease them, and claimed they started leaving him alone after that. Nothing too crazy ever happened to anyone, but man, did it make you not want to be the last person in there at night. Sounds like lonely ghosts more so than mean ghosts. People do weird, sometimes creepy-ish things when they're desperate for attention. I imagine that comes off twice as hostile when it's done by unseen hands. They're just walking and closing doors. I don't really believe in paranormal, but if anything I've experienced was paranormal, it was this. I wouldn't say if it's weird, but as a non-ghost believer, it was weird for me to experience. My grandfather passed away earlier this year, around mid-May. He and I were really close when I was little. He would walk me to school, push me on the swing while he sang, and did anything a little girl could ask from her grandpa. We lost that connection when he developed dementia in my later teens, and we had little choice but to move him out of our house into a place that could offer him 24-hour care. So I wasn't in the area when he passed, but my dad was with him this year. That call was hard to receive. His funeral was early one morning. That evening, I was sitting in my room, just thinking, when I decided to go out into our deck and just be in the silence. We have 2 rocking chairs out there. I went outside and Saturday in one, and immediately the chair beside me rocked like someone has Saturday in that one as well. I watched it, wondering if I was just seeing things. And when the chair fell still, I shrugged it off and started rocking. A few minutes later, the second rocking chair started rocking beside mine. I would pause, and after a few seconds it would also stop rocking. I thought it was the movement of my rocking that caused the other chair to rock. And even now I wonder if that's really what happened. But what happened next made me doubt that. My grandpa loved when I sang or played an instrument for him this year. In the early stages of his dementia, what really got him to smile was the ukulele. So when I brought one home from Hawaii, I played and sang for him, and he would grin and clap at the end of every song. So that night, I don't know where it came from, but I got an urge to play the ukulele outside. I hadn't played in months at that point. I went inside, grabbed my ukulele, and Saturday back down in my rocking chair and began to play and sing quietly. I felt kind of stupid until the other rocking chair began to rock ever so slowly, and my chair was not moving at that point. It rocked for a bit then stopped, but I kept playing. I strummed for a while, and when I was done, I sat there in silence for a few minutes, said goodbye to whatever was in the chair, and went inside. I'm still skeptical of this situation. I don't know if the rocking was complete coincidence, or if something really was sitting next to me that night. I've sat in that rocking chair dozens of times since then, but the other one has not moved on its own. My brain says it was nothing, but my gut tells me that it was my grandpa listening to me one last time before our final goodbye. I miss that man, and every time I pick up my ukulele I think of him and that night. Seems like whether he was sitting in the other chair or not. You said goodbye to him in a beautifully fitting way. Went running with my dog and saw a white outline of a young woman running alongside me out of the corner of my eye. When I looked over, nothing. About 5 minutes later I got a call that my great-grandmother had passed. She was in hospice. Still think about that a lot. Edit. I think it runs in the family. My mom will straight up say, I need to call X. I feel weird, and sure as shit, there's a disease, illness going on. My great-grandmother used to talk to dead people, and my family thought she was crazy until they figured out the house she used to live in was owned by the couple she talked to years earlier. Found this out a year or so ago. Been about 5 years since she passed away. Yes, this happens to me and happened to my mother a lot. I will start thinking about someone, or I should say, someone pops into my mind and I know somehow they're going to reach out to me. And they do. More than that, I grew up in a funeral home which was a 3-story Victorian house. We lived in the top 2 stories and the main floor was the business. That house was alive. Our dogs would do weird things like stare and growl into corners. Usually around the holidays. We thought it was our grandpa coming for another worldly visit, but who knows? My mom swears up and down that the foot of her bed would depress as if someone sat down on it. But no one was there. She would feel a presence. Would even talk to it. And eventually she would say, "All right, I'm going to go to bed now. Please leave." And the depression would disappear like someone stood up to leave. My brother said he saw footprints appear in the dirt floor of the basement once. And he always teased me and scoffed at my fear of weird ghostiness. So when he admitted it, all spooked. We all freaked a little. One night we were all awakened by blaring music. My dad had a pair of these huge 5-foot Klipsch corner speakers. And in the middle of the night, we all ran out of our rooms confused. Somehow, the stereo turned on and blasted on max volume. My dad is an audiophile and would never have abused his equipment for fear of blowing the speakers. Nor was anyone awake to turn on the stereo and turn it up. Every light was on in the house despite having turned him out before going to bed. Also, the thermostat would randomly get turned up to the 90s. And you know how dads are with the thermostat. He always blamed my brother and me, but we didn't do it. I think our ghosts were practical jokers. There may have been at least one kid. And I say that because the house, funeral home, was turned into an apartment building when my parents sold it. I knew a girl who lived there. She would babysit sometimes, and the kid she babysat was always playing with someone whom nobody else could see. Also, she heard a disembodied kid voice once, clear as a ringing bell. It announced, "It's raining." At that time there were no kids anywhere in the building. What was weird is that there was this really old child's coffin in the basement. Not sure why they kept it. Probably because it was a novelty. It was made of dark wood, but the front panel was a solid pane of glass so you could view the body but seal the child inside. I realize this all sounds like made-up bullshit, but I kid you not, this was my childhood. Now I drink and smoke enough that spirits can't reach me.